Greetings, noble ones. I am Sir Eoth, your guide through these tales. Natlan's Act 3 and 4 have had a lot to unfold and a lot to unveil. And boy, it does not disappoint. Let us resume where the previous act left us. The traveler needs an ancient name to record their deeds but also ensure safety. Following this, we are introduced to Shironen, who was up to the task but showed surprise at the heroes being outlanders of Natlan, making the crafting of an ancient name exceedingly difficult. To counteract this, we are introduced to Citlali, the granny of the Masters of the Nightwind, a nearly all-knowing figure, which subtly reminds me of another blue-haired figure we know of. Exactly, Hatsune Miku.
Nice.
Citlali happens to be a very outgoing and expressive girl or woman, despite her public image. People of her tribe tend to avoid her because none of them measure to her achievements, so mayhaps she would know of ways to create an ancient name for an outlander. In exchange, Citlali wishes to use your services as well, to know what happened to Ororon, her grandson, and seemingly a traitor, but that's not very relevant, is it? Despite the signs of struggle left behind his disappearance, you are quickly apprehended by him in the Night Kingdom, as it was a setup to bring you here. Ororon seems clearly devoid of ill intent, and so does Capitano, as they both invite you to peacefully talk about options for the sake of Natlan. Citlali reveals to us that Ororon was born incomplete, or rather his soul was incomplete. Because of this, he was meant to be sacrificed as a vessel for the lost souls of the Night Kingdom. This ritual would bring balance back to it and strengthen the ley lines. If needs be, I shall explain quickly what the ley lines are. They are, simply put, the foundation of the world. One could compare it to a country and its electrical network maps, where some have higher clusters for energy delivery and others barely, if not at all. Back to Ororon. The ceremony for the Night Kingdom failed, and Ororon survived, resulting in him blaming himself for the current state of the land. Onwards we march, and Citlali allows us to revisit the events prior to Ororon's perceived betrayal, and, as it turns out, he never betrayed anyone, but rather saw an opportunity to save Natlan, which is where my hope for the plot gets discarded, as I've played too much Dark Souls. Instead, the Fatui and Ororon plan to destroy the ley lines in order to rebuild them sturdier than before, at the loss of everything previously recorded in the Night Kingdom, causing cognitive issues to the people of Natlan. And so, it came to pass that Ororon's body came to be possessed by a figure who refers to Capitano as Commander. And as Ororon fights to regain control, which he does, he gets acknowledged by his ancient name, Sahaj, meaning devotion. We shall proceed with Capitano, who is revealed to be an important figure, without a specific name to him yet, as he was in charge of defending Khaenri'ahn 500 years ago, during the Cataclysm. Now, with my legendary sword of inquiry that I just made up, I am of the mind that it now makes more sense that Khaenri'ahn soldiers were present in the legend of the Shadow Pins, Zephania and Erizor, seen as villains but were in truth brave heroes. Their presence in Natlan is justified as Capitano fled the devastated Khaenri'ahn with his soldiers, and those two were part of his troops. With the following theory, we stand at the crossroads of speculation and truth, or madness and genius. It is up to you. Capitano's reveal coincides further with the theory of him being the Bloodstained Knight, as they both share many traits. 1. They were in Khaenri'ahn 500 years ago, during the Cataclysm. 2. They wear a mask, due to their appearance being warped. 3. They have a strong sense of justice. They are both skilled swordsmen, and they both use a blackened one-handed sword. 4. They are both dressed in black. And finally, 12. The damsel from the artifact set, Maiden Beloved, who fell in love with the Bloodstained Knight, Could be Columbina, known as the Damselet and the Maiden, sharing titles with her and having closed their eyes, refusing to look at anyone else than their lover. By my oath, this theory holds water like the finest goblet of the court. Or perhaps not. One critical fact dissociates them. The Bloodstained Knight swore allegiance to the Abyss because of the injustice Khaenri'ahns faced from the gods, which caused Khaenri'ahns to become mutated because of the Abyss and becoming the Abyss Order, a faction within the Abyss. Capitano, meanwhile, clearly opposes the Abyss. He does not show any signs of sympathy or understanding towards them. In Faith, more is to be revealed about Capitano. In those 500 years, it is possible that many things have happened and changed, so we shall make of this what we want for now. Though, what say thee? Is this theory worth chasing? Let us take heed of the following, as the embodiment of the Night Kingdom, known as the Lord of the Night, manifests itself and is, in truth, nothing more than an envoy of Celestia, also called angels, and, as you may know from my previous videos, they walked among the first united civilization of humans, and then got swept into the punishment of Celestia against humanity's insolence, reducing them to Seelies. Mavuika confirms that Fontaine stands at the center of the land, by mentioning that Natlan is in the corner of the world. And because of this, the battle between Thanes and the Sovereigns caused Natlan to take the most damage in consequence, shown by the state of the ley lines. Mavuika refuses to proceed with both the use of the Gnosis to protect the Night Kingdom and the deconstruction of the ley lines, as both require sacrifices too great for humanity, without guaranteeing safety in the future. Capitano disagrees with her, and believes that sacrifices are necessary for the greater good, a vision mainly held by the Tsaritsa. Though, as a man of honor as well, I must admit he has a very realistic approach on the issue, one which I personally side with. Him and Mavuika agree to put aside their difference and work together on a third solution. The time hath come for the traveler to question the Lord of the Night regarding the heavens. She expresses insecurity as to her ability to freely speak of them. However, I do not, so I shall explain. We have known the existence of Phanes and his four shades, otherwise known as the Heavenly Principles, since Enkanomia. They are the four parts of Phanes who are their own being. Istaroth, the Shade of Time, mirroring the Greek deity Kronos. Ronova, the Shade of Death, mirroring Nyx, who happens to be, in Greek mythology, the mother of Ether and Hemera, who we know as Lumine in Tevat. The other two shades' names are unknown, but I believe the other two shades are Fortuna as the Shade of Fate and Gaia as the Shade of Life. Naturally, any of these shades are infinitely more powerful than any Archon is or ever was. The Shade of Death established the rules of Natlan with Xbalanque, who forced her hand in giving out her own power to him and his descendants as a price for leaving them with a broken land. Honorable mention of the Xbalan Goat, who not only is half-dragon, he was the first human to ascend to Celestia. He had dragons bow to him, the dragon sovereigns respected him, but he also negotiated and forced the hand of one of the shades of the creator of the world. Lo and behold, the man who single-handedly exhausted the testosterone budget for many of the generations after him. Let us delve deeper, however, as the heavenly principles as a whole were displeased with Ronova's actions, which most likely refers to Phanes seeing the Lord of the Night's hesitation in her choice of words. Ronova was shunned by her creator. Not punished, but she reduced herself greatly and, eventually, fell into self-pity. Still deeper we delve, as the Lord of the Night mentions a light realm and a human realm, which we've also known since Enkanomiya. Yes, this place was a lore fest since it was inhabited by the first civilization. Regardless, there is a third realm she does not mention, which is the Void Realm. The Light Realm is the original world before Teyvat was Teyvat, which was inhabited by dragons and their sovereigns. It was overflowing with elemental energy, and their realm was counterbalanced by the Void Realm we know as the Abyss. Phanes arrived as a descender, deciding to create a world on this plane, so he battled the sovereigns and their king, Nibelung, and defeated them after 40 years, forcing the sovereigns to either flee or die. He then inserted a new world, the human realm known as Teyvat, between the Light Realm and the Void Realm, taking the plentiful energy from the Light Realm to create Phlogiston as the most condensed and primitive form of energy, which will then become elemental energy for humans to wield. Mayhaps you've wondered why Nevi'yet has an issue with Archons, or why they are called Usurper Lords by Vishaps. You now know why. To close off on this massive lore dump, the Lord of the Night refers to Citlali as a young girl. This is of massive importance. Is she in truth not the granny old hag we've been made to believe she is? I sure hope this key element of the story gets addressed, otherwise Natlan's biggest mystery will never be solved. We shall proceed with Capitano elaborating on his past, mentioning how his current strength is only a shadow of what it once was. Yet, he still took on Mavuika in an honorable fight. It allows imagination to run wild about what Dainsleif is truly capable of, and the Five Sinners especially, although Mavuika seems to mean that she wasn't going all out, even though she was huffing and puffing a little bit. We must needs consider that despite Capitano mentioning his weakening and him being the first of the Fatui, the ranking of the Fatui does not indicate a power level, but a joining order as well as the ability to influence their surroundings. Although the 10th seat remains vacant, Pantalone is ranked number 9 despite him not being granted any vision. He is a regular man by definition, yet he's ranked above Child, who remains a powerhouse despite people's perception, simply because Pantalone can shake the world at its core due to his control over the influx of Mora in the world. Now back to Natlan, we come to know of the third plan mentioned earlier. Mavuika will wield the power of Ronova, temporarily becoming as strong as one of the four shades, something never achieved by other Archons so far. But the price for such a blessing, if you may call it that, is death. Now, take heed, scholars, as this is truly important. It is not indicated that the price to be paid has to be the death of the user, but death, plainly. It does not matter when or who, and the Lord of the Night comes to confirm that. It is revealed that Capitano is on a missive for Ronova herself, the Shade of Death, tying him to the whole premise. It is high likely, following this, that for the sake of Mavuika, Capitano will follow Signora's fate by taking the price of death upon him, breaking his curse of immortality and allowing Hoyoverse to cash out on a playable Pyro Archon, because there's no way they would not. Though, seeing how popular Capitano is, and I am mostly trying to comfort myself here as I have been saving the whole year for him, it is possible that he pays in death with his immortality and becomes a regular mortal once more, making him a playable character. And by my own reckoning, this theory stands. Now, let us press onward, as the Abyss attacks the land on bigger and bigger scales. Before realizing it, Natlan is in war against the Abyss. The land and its people suffer greatly from it. Its regular citizens who can't take part in the war are being separated or forced to give their life for their loved ones. As the Abyss's influence keeps spreading and claiming more lives, including Kweku, Chaska's sister, who's been with us for a while now. Poor Chaska was not given much time to mourn, but she steeled herself back into control, and, as a result, obtained the recognition of her ancient name. She most definitely deserves a spot in the Anemo squad. Shortly before, the Abyss took form as an entity high up in the sky, a phenomenon still not witnessed, allowing the Abyss to take over Natlan by scattering steadfast tumors all around. The war takes a turn for the worse, and Natlan quickly becomes a no man's land. In response to this, the 6 heroes of old are now assembled and gathered around Mavuika in order to bless her with the power of death, ascending Mavuika and granting her the power of the heavens for a while. Mavuika uses her new strength to rain down fire on the land, before focusing her strength into a single blow against the abyssal moon. And by the sword, I was not ready for this. She hath punched a wall into the sky. She punched a hole into the fake sky, and destroyed a moon, or planet even. This event alone is incredible. It proves Spelunky's past prediction, who said that even the power of the heavens and the sovereigns would not be a match for a fully scaled abyss invasion, considering it took the power of a shade to repel this single invasion on Natlan, a single region. But that's not everything. It finally shows us that the fake sky that has been theorized about for so long is not a theory, it is very much a reality, as we got to hear from Scaramouche and back in the 1.1 event, where fake stars were falling from the sky, where they were attached. Returning to Mavuika, with her conclusion, she confirms that this will keep the Abyss at bay for the foreseeable future, but not indefinitely, and she must now take on the final fight on her own against the Abyss. But she wishes for someone to join her. Thou art her choice, brave traveler, because of the given resilience to the Abyss, but also a possibility of now obtaining an ancient name to guarantee a return in the face of potential death, which will be covered in the next act. With sword in hand and wisdom in heart, Sir Eoth bids thee farewell, until the next tale unfolds.